All county board members, if you're within the sound of my voice, please come back into the board meeting. We can get started. I know that the Finance Committee deliberations went past the ordinary time, so that's all well and good. So we'll get started in a minute or so here. Thank you. Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I call the meeting of April 13th, 2021 to order. And let me first start out by sort of framing our meeting here with respect to guidance to public bodies on the Open Meetings Act during the COVID-19 pandemic. There is a physical quorum present, so as I call the meeting to order, a physical quorum of the members is physically present for the record. I will entertain a motion to permit those members not physically present due to the coronavirus to participate by video or teleconference.
So moved, Chaplain.
It's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. So we will proceed accordingly. With that, I would like to ask Member DeCiani if you would be kind enough, please, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then please remain standing as we move to our invocation. So, if I may, as we move to invocation today, we make note of the fact that our Muslim friends are observing Ramadan this month. We also welcome our Sikh friends here today for a special proclamation. So we do have, we're honored with the invocation with Bahi Muhindru Singh, the head priest of the Illinois Sikh Community Center in Wheaton, to lead us in invocation in person.
Good morning. Master of all ages, O Master of all eternity, Supreme Master, the Divine Truth, I bow to you. Dear Lord, you are our Father, our Mother, our brother, our relative, our friend. You protect us at all places. You are the truth. You are the creator and self-created. Without fear, without enmity, you are beyond birth, beyond death. Your light is spread in all your creation and in each one of us. Lord, our God, with your grace, the state of Illinois has designated the month of April as Sikh Awareness and Appreciation Month in Illinois. Today in this gathering, DuPage County Board and its president are meeting for, among many other important matters, to consider a resolution to issue a similar proclamation for the residents of DuPage County. We thank you for the opportunity you have bestowed us to share our love, compassion, mutual understanding among the residents of DuPage County. Please guide us today in this gathering. Give us spiritual wisdom, dispel the darkness of ignorance, and give us strength to do the best we are capable of. Give us focus, and let us not waver. Let us not be self-willed. Keep us away from slander, malice, greed, and attachment. Let us not harbor hatred against anyone. Lord our God, you who are rich in mercy, and with careful wisdom correct our lives. Listen to our prayer, receive our repentance for our sins. Bring an end to this infectious disease, this epidemic. You who are the physician of our souls and bodies, grant restored health to those who have been seized. O merciful Savior, preserve in health those who have not been infected. By your grace, Lord, bless, strengthen, and preserve all those who, out of love and sacrifice, care for the sick, either in their homes or in the hospitals. Remove all sickness and suffering from your people, and teach us to value life and health as gift from you. Give us your peace, O God, and fill our hearts with unflinching faith in your protection, hope in your help, and love for you and our neighbors. As we sing your glory and pray for peace amongst us and throughout this world, may our spirit always remain high. We pray for the welfare of all. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you.
Amen. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Deputy Clerk Adam Johnson, would you please call the roll?
Chaplin.
Here.
Chavez.
Here.
Kovac.
Here.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Here.
Hart.
Here.
Krajewski.
Here.
LaPlante.
Here.
Ozog.
Here.
Wachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Here.
Schwarzy.
Here.
Selman.
Here.
Tornatori.
Here.
And Zay.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. So, on the order of Chairman's report, we have a couple of presentations. First and foremost, the Sikh Awareness Month proclamation. I'd like to invite Liz Chaplin to either join me, or if you're comfortable, you're welcome to join me up here. And I'd like to invite Rajendra Singh Mago to the podium, please. We begin our meeting this morning with several recognitions. First, we welcome Rajendra Singh Mango, who is a resident of Wayne Township and who is the public and media relations representative of the Sikh Religious Society in Palatine. And because we're celebrating Sikh Awareness Month in DuPage County, he has graciously joined us here today. This new designation, signed into law and effective last year, invites the recognition of Illinois' 25,000 Sikh residents. And we are grateful, so grateful to have our distinguished guests here today. And I'm going to read the proclamation, and I'm going to ask our guests if you'd be kind enough to share a few thoughts with us. So the proclamation goes as follows. Whereas Sikhs have been living in the United States for more than 120 years, and during the early 20th century, thousands of Sikh Americans worked on farms, in lumber mills, and mines, and on the Oregon, Pacific, and Eastern Railroad. And whereas Sikhism is the fifth largest religion in the world, and there are currently more than 30 million Sikhs worldwide, with 500,000 Sikh Americans and 25,000 Sikh Illinoisans. And whereas Sikh Americans make rich contributions to the social, cultural, and economic vibrancy of the United States, including service as members of the U.S. Armed Forces and significant contributions in agriculture, information technology, small businesses, the hotel industry, trucking, medicine, technology, and numerous other industries. And whereas Sikh Americans distinguished themselves by fostering respect among all people through faith and service. And whereas DuPage County is committed to furthering the diversity of its community and hopes to educate residents about the world's religions, the value of religious diversity, tolerance, grounded in First Amendment principles, and a culture of mutual understanding. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Daniel J. Cronin, Chairman of the DuPage County, and members of the County Board, do hereby proclaim April as Sikh Awareness and Appreciation Month and encourage our residents to better understand, recognize, and appreciate the rich history and shared experiences of the Sikh Americans. I'll entertain a motion. So moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Approved this 13th day of April 2021. Thank you very much. We are truly honored. And if you'd be kind enough to share a thought with us, please.
Good morning. Thank you so much. As the President mentioned, that April is Sikh Awareness and Appreciation Month in the state of Illinois, and it was designated by the Illinois State General Assembly and approved by the governor on 3rd of August in 2019 and effective January 1, 2020. And I thank Chairman Dan Cronin and the DuPage County Board for passing this resolution in DuPage County today. And we are truly honored. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This month of April recognizes and highlights the important contributions that Sikh Americans have made and continue to make to America's social, economic, political, and cultural heritage. America is home to approximately 500,000 proud Sikh Americans, making it one of the largest Sikh diaspora in the world. Since the arrival of the first Sikh immigrants about 120 years ago, members of our community have contributed to America through their achievements in all walks of life, including military. Sikh means a student, a learner. Sikhi's core principle is oneness, and way of life includes equality, generosity, openness, compassion, honest living, sharing, and being ever mindful of the one universal creator for all, everybody, the whole humanity. And Sikh Awareness Month is an opportunity to reflect on the pivotal role that the Sikh community communities have played and continue to play in building a stronger and consciously more inclusive America, Illinois, and DuPage County. Having said that, I must add that just like any other new kid on the block, we also have our struggles and challenges due to our external appearance, because people don't know who we are. That's where this kind of recognition and resolutions and the awareness programs are going to come in handy. I invite residents of all backgrounds to learn more about the unique history and culture of Sikh communities in the DuPage County. Know your Sikh neighbor, not only in April, but year-round. We have community centers in place of worship called Gurudwara in Wheaton, in Palatine, and in Chicago. Everyone is welcome and served free meals known as langar. We pray for the well-being of not only Sikhs, but all. I wish everyone a very happy Sikh Awareness and Appreciation Month. Keep well and safe, and thank you so much, President and the board. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take a picture. There we go. I'm smiling. Thanks so much.
Your eyes say that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was nice. Okay, so our next presentation is with respect to Giving DuPage Day's proclamation. And I'd like to virtually invite Ashley Selman and Greg Hart to join me here at the podium. And then I'm going to invite our guests that are here in person, Shafali Trivedi and Tiffany McQueen Lewis, to join me at the podium. Never has it been more important, I think, for our community to come together and help out each other than right now, right? As we have faced the impact of COVID-19 on our friends and neighbors, family, the importance of volunteer organizations has been dramatically demonstrated, I think, for everyone. Giving DuPage connects volunteers and donors, people that donate their time, treasure, talent, with local groups that can help them contribute time or treasure to the organization of their choice. So often people say, well, I want to help out, I want to do something, I want to contribute something, I want to volunteer. Where do I go, Cronin? What do I do? Well, I always point them to the Giving DuPage website, and I direct them to Shafali, because if you're genuinely interested in helping out in the community, we will find you a worthy cause. Giving DuPage Days, scheduled for later this month, allows our community to support those organizations helping our friends and neighbors in need. April 26th through April 30th, Giving DuPage is hosting a community fundraiser encouraging those who can to support more than 80 local charities. Board members Ashley Selman and Greg Hart serve on the board of Giving DuPage. They do a great job, as does Tiffany McQueen Lewis, who will accept our proclamation. And I'm going to read that proclamation, and I'll deliver it to you. I'll hand it over to you, and then if you'd be kind enough to share a few words with us, that'd be great. So, whereas DuPage County recognizes and appreciates the importance of volunteerism and fundraising for community nonprofit organizations, and whereas Giving DuPage, a community resource for nonprofit agencies, is hosting Giving DuPage Days, a virtual fundraiser supporting DuPage County organizations. And whereas the Giving DuPage Days virtual fundraiser supports the most charity organizations in one event, inspiring residents and raising money for their favorite causes. And whereas Giving DuPage Days is an opportunity for nonprofit organizations to participate in a fundraiser without dedicating their own staff time or resources, which increases the benefit donations can have on an organization. And whereas Giving DuPage Days will create awareness for local nonprofit organizations, providing programs in the areas of health, education, arts and culture, social justice, disability services, diversity initiatives, and more. And whereas in its first year, Giving DuPage Days raised nearly $230,000 with support from more than 1,700 local donors. And whereas DuPage County recognizes the charitable contributions made through the Giving DuPage Days event to increase awareness and raise funds for local nonprofit organizations. And whereas this year marks the second annual virtual Giving DuPage Days event, with a goal to raise more than $300,000 for 104 local charitable organizations from April 26th through April 30th. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Daniel J. Cronin, Chairman of the DuPage County Board, and members of the County Board do hereby recognize and commend Giving DuPage for hosting the Giving DuPage Days event and for supporting and raising awareness for local DuPage County charitable organizations. I'll entertain a motion. Seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Enacted this 13th day of April. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for all the good work you do. And if you'd be kind enough to accept this and share a few thoughts with us, please.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Chairman Cronin and the DuPage County Board. We are honored to receive this recognition in support of Giving DuPage Days, which, as Chairman Cronin mentioned, is a virtual countywide fundraiser for over 100 local charities. Last year was our very first year to host this event, and it was great to see over 1,700 people of all ages, including my 3 children, 3-year-old twins and 8-year-old son, who I gave $5 each to donate to their local charities. Not going to keep the doors open, but it was a great way to involve them in this philanthropic event, involve our entire family in that event. But many people of all ages gave generously for many worthy causes. And now we have an even bigger goal to raise over $300,000 for local charities. As a Giving DuPage board member, it is an honor to give back to the same nonprofit organizations who stepped up to serve residents in need during this challenging year. Together, we can demonstrate the power of generosity in our community. We thank the DuPage County Board for your commitment to Giving DuPage, which makes this event and all of our programs possible. We are very proud to serve this board, to mobilize volunteers, provide capacity building resources to nonprofit organizations, and inspire public service in DuPage County. Thank you so much for this proclamation. We really appreciate your support and recognition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't point out, I think Shafali, if I'm not mistaken, this kind of was your brainchild a few years ago. Is that correct?
I serve with pleasure.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you.
Everyone's accomplishment.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to commend you for your leadership, and look how marvelously this is developing. And thank you so much, Tiffany, and to Greg Hart and Ashley Selman. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
So we have one more presentation here, and I'd like to invite my old pal, Tom Cross, to join me up here, and Jen Buckley. And let's have member DeCiani join me, because I know about his commitment to autism. This is Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. A lot going on this month. So, and that's good. So in April, we recognize organizations and community members making a difference for families impacted by autism. This year, we're adding the word acceptance to our proclamation, recognizing that more than being simply aware of autism, we can each offer support, acceptance, and full inclusion of people and families living with autism. Being aware of it is not good enough. We've got to accept it and support those with autism. We are thrilled to welcome some guests here from Aurora University, whose new program aligns beautifully with our own DuPage County Diversity and Inclusion strategic goal. I'm very pleased to welcome one of my former colleagues from the General Assembly, Tom Cross, who served as Minority Leader in the House of Representatives and is now the Executive Director of the Institute of Collaboration at Aurora University. Tom is joined by Jen Buckley, Vice President for Student Success and Dean of Aurora University School of Education. They have some exciting information to share about new opportunities at AU for people with autism, and I'll speak briefly to it in this proclamation, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jen and Tom, and then you could expand on this a little bit. But I'll read the proclamation, and it goes as follows. Whereas autism is a complex neurological disease and developmental disability that often affects verbal and nonverbal communications. And whereas the disease is considered to be the nation's #1 developmental disability, as approximately 3.5 million Americans have been affected by autism. And whereas the Centers for Disease Control estimates that autism affects 1 in every 54 children born today and affects boys nearly 4 times the level of girls. And whereas approximately 3,500 children in DuPage County have been diagnosed with autism, in addition to 20,000 across the state of Illinois. And whereas autism is treatable through early diagnosis, in addition to intensive medical and developmental therapies aimed at providing children the ability to be independent and live a fulfilling and productive life. And whereas over the next decade, an estimated 707,000 to 1.1 million teens, that's 70,000 to 116 each year, 116,000 each year, will enter adulthood and age out of the school-based autism services, while those who continue their educations may need extra support and extended timelines to achieve academic, vocational, personal growth goals. And whereas Aurora University recognizes this gap in services available to students with autism, who seek higher education experiences similar to their typically learning peers, including the ability to attend college, live, and socialize on campus. And whereas, starting in school calendar year 2022, Aurora University will launch a new College Pathways program designed to support students with autism as they pursue and achieve their academic goals, and will offer students what they believe is the first higher education residential program for students with autism in DuPage County, maybe in the state of Illinois, one of the few across the nation, I would imagine. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Daniel J. Cronin, Chairman of DuPage County, and members of the County Board do hereby recognize April as Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month and salute families impacted by autism and those organizations, including Aurora University, who create new opportunities for people with autism to be lifelong learners, to achieve their goals, and to fully participate as valued members of our community. Do I entertain a motion? Do I hear a motion? There is. So moved. Seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Enacted this 13th day of April 2021. Jen Buckley, thank you very much for all the good work you do. Tom Cross, Pete DeCiani. Jen, please, and Tom, would you be kind enough to share some words with us?
Thank you, Chairman Cronin, and the rest of the DuPage County Board. I am both grateful and honored to be here with you today to accept this recognition on behalf of the Aurora University community. Aurora University has a strong history of welcoming new populations of learners into higher education. We are currently the 6th largest private university in the state, one of 15 Hispanic serving institutions, and help many first-generation students achieve their dream of earning a college degree. Expanding programming and services to the autism community is who we are as an institution and aligns with our mission. We truly see the AU Autism Initiative as being at the intersection of hope and need. Even though Aurora University may not be physically located in DuPage County, we have such a strong relationship with the school districts in the county and are excited to expand our relationship to serve the ASD community. Thank you so much again for this tremendous honor.
I just want to thank Chairman Cronin for the proclamation and the folks at Aurora. I see Leader Cross here. Back in 2008, we lost 5 bills, and I don't know how many times I was going back to Leader Cross's office because Speaker Madigan kept on killing Breonna's law until we finally got it done in veto session to bring insurance. Think about this, before 2008, we didn't even have insurance coverage for these kids. People are just going out of pocket. They're losing their homes. Now we've got college programs. We have insurance. We have a future for these kids, and it's terrific. As a father, I know Jan is a mother of a child with autism. It's important that we include. This has been my social justice fight. Since 1996, when I was running the Elmer's Children's Assistance Foundation, before my daughter was even born, helping kids with autism and other disabilities. So it's great to see colleges step up and give our kids a future. For many families, we call it the black hole. What's going to happen after high school? Where the job's going to be? Is there going to be a college path? And to see universities stepping up to accommodate our kids is important. So with that, I can't thank you enough. Leader Cross, thank you for your passion and driving home. He was a sponsor and voted yes for Breonna's law. So Republicans and Democrats came together to bring home insurance, and we're one of the pioneer states back in 2008. So God bless everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Want to do a quick picture here, Evan? We like pictures. There we are.
All right.
Great, thank you. Thanks again, Jen. Thanks, Tom. Okie dokie. That was fun, wasn't that, Sheila? Very nice, very nice. So I just have a couple of brief remarks here, and then we'll get into our committee reports and public comment. I did want to share with you a little report, and Sam Tornatore knows this. We continue to lead the collar counties in the percentage of residents we have fully vaccinated against the COVID-19. This is more important than ever as we see infection numbers sort of creeping up, especially in younger people. I know there's fatigue. I know people are just, many people have had it with it, but we're in the fourth quarter, and I will ask folks to continue to wear masks and remain vigilant about public health practices. As I say, we're in the final stretch of this long pandemic. We have to get the majority of our residents vaccinated to be completely on the other side of this. We're not quite there yet, but I'm looking forward to a happy and somewhat normal summertime beginning in July. That's what I'm going to say today, if you don't mind. So July 4th, I think that's going to be the date where we can say hallelujah. But for those who have questions about the vaccine and vaccine safety, I ask you to please visit our health department website at dupagehealth.org. There's a wealth of reliable, peer-reviewed information available there, along with answers to many frequently asked questions. I encourage our employees on campus to take advantage of an opportunity to ask DuPage County Health Department's own Dr. Rajmi Chug and Dr. Kevin Most of CDH Northwestern Hospital any questions they may have about the vaccine. Employees received information and registration information. There's an event that takes place Thursday over the noon lunch hour via Zoom. So please join and take advantage of this opportunity to learn more about the vaccines, their safety, and their effectiveness. And I strongly, strongly recommend that everybody get vaccinated. Strongly recommend it. It's the right thing to do. So with that concludes my chairman's report. We move on to the next order of business entitled Public Comment. And I am reliably informed by Mr. Paul Bruckner that we do not have anybody in person here today. Is that correct? But we do have some folks that offered some commentary via the internet. We love the internet. And so here is Dana, who will do a marvelous job reading the public comment because we welcome these commentators. And so why don't you take it away, Dana, with comments that were submitted via electronically.
Thank you, Chairman. This comment was submitted by Jan Shaw. Subject, Board Oversight of Election Authority Contracts. I am not a lawyer, just a concerned citizen who can read English. Based on my reading of the law, all contracts in excess of $2,500 must come to the entire county board for approval before the clerk or her deputy for the election authority to sign. Excuse me. The same most likely applies to other offices as well. Back in 2019, when DuPage dissolved the DuPage Election Commission and placed the election authority under the clerk, not everything should have gone to the clerk. My reading of Illinois law indicates that certain things, such as contract for more than $2,500, must come to the full DuPage board for approval. After reading about the election division's contract with Dominion, I asked a county board member if the board had ever approved it, and if not, why. He responded that staff told him that there was no need for their approval. Based on ILCS 5-3-2003.2, which goes on to state, internal operations of office, the county clerk shall have the right to control the internal operations of the clerk's office and to procure necessary equipment, materials, and services to perform the duties of the clerk's office. However, that permits the clerk to control internal operations of her office, not sign contracts that obligate the county unilaterally. So I checked the compiled state statutes and found nothing. Clerk that references contracts. In County's Code IC 55 ILCS 5-26010, Section 2-6010, Delegation of Powers, Appropriations, and Indebtedness. The said Board of Commissioners shall have no power or authority to delegate to any committee or other person or persons the power to act when such power to act shall involve the letting of any contract or expenditure of public money exceeding the sum of $2,500, and any action of said board or of any committee thereof or of any other person or persons in violation of this section shall be null and void. no money shall be appropriated or ordered paid by said county commissioners beyond the sum of $2,500, unless such appropriation shall have been authorized by a vote of at least 2/3 of the members elected to the said county board. And no officer of Cook County or other person shall incur any indebtedness on behalf of the county unless first authorized by said Board of Commissioners. The Dominion contract lists an annual cost of $35,260. Clearly, that is more than $2,500. This contract should have come to the board, and based on this law, since the board did not approve it, it shall be deemed null and void. I suggest that the county board form an election subcommittee and review all contracts still in effect and signed since 1/1/2019. Furthermore, all future clerks' contracts that exceed $2,500 and perhaps some existing ones need to be brought back to the entire county board. This concludes that comment.
Well, that concludes our public comment. We move on to the next order of business entitled Consent. Is there a motion? There's been a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Zay. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
And Tornatori.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. On to the order of County Board. Member Ashley Selman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move on CBR 231-21, resolution for the appointment of Eric Swanson as a member of the ETSB designated by the sheriff.
There's been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
And Schwarzy.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Selman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move on CBR 232-21, a resolution, the appointment of Brent E. Frank to the Lyle Woodridge Fire Protection District.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second, and there's a request for leave for the most favorable role. Is there leave? Is there any objection? Okay, leave is granted. Thank you, Mr. Zay. Thank you, Member Chaplin. Member Ashley Selman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move on CBR 233-21, a resolution, the appointment of Sarah oh, geez, I'm so sorry. I'm going to butcher her name.
Zaplicki.
Okay, to the Wheaton Sanitary District. So sorry.
All right, there's been a motion and a second.
Leave.
There's a request for leave. Leave is granted. Member Selman.
Thank you. And then the last one is CBR 234-21, a resolution for the appointment of Julius West Beckton III to the Commuter Rail Board for Metro.
Been a motion and a second, a request for leave. Seeing no objection, leave is granted. Thank you very much. Moving on to the order of finance, Member Liz Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I move approval of FIR 022721, resolution acceptance and appropriation of the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Justice DNA Backlog Reduction Project grant in the amount of $366,245.
Second, Garcia.
There's been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
And Zay.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I move approval of FIR 022821, acceptance and appropriation of the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Justice DNA Backlog Reduction Project Grant on the amount of $340,696.
Second most favorable rule.
Been a motion and a second. Request for leave. Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I move approval of FIR 023721, resolution additional appropriation for the general fund in the amount of $545,455.
There's been a motion. Who seconded the motion there? Mr. DeCiani. Is there a request for roll call?
Chairman,
Okay. Oh, forgive me. Member Krajewski, seeking recognition. Please.
thank you. We had a healthy debate at finance, so I don't think we need it again. But I know in our JPS March 16th meeting, a $2.5 million contract to add in virtual training. Since then, more information, and I'm more supportive of that initial one than what we have found. So I'm going to make an amendment on FIR 0237 for an additional appropriation for the general fund, Company 1000, Unit 440, for $632,064, which is about $90-some thousand more, and that was the initial first year on our initial contract. It was presented at JPS on March 16th.
Okay. So you're proposing to amend this resolution on its face
To $664.
So taking it from 545, 455 to 634. Is that what you're?
$632.64, and that was $632,064, and that was the cost of the first year. It's coming out of the general fund that was presented to us back on March 16th at JPS when we were doing the $2.5 million over 5 years for Axion.
So we have a motion and a second. Typically, an amendment would be printed and distributed. Is there objection by anybody here? Is there leave of the body? Are you okay with this, Chairman, Finance Chairman?
We can take a vote on it. I'm going to be voting no, but if
Okay.
the board so approves, I have
Okay. All right, Mr. Zay, to discuss the matter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has been debated a long time by the county board members. And, my feeling is with all the incidents we have seen nationwide over the last year, and if we're forced to do these body cameras, shouldn't we do it right?
Of course.
Shouldn't we do it the right way? Why are we haggling over money? It seems like the majority of this board has no problem taking this out of reserves. Then why are we cheapening out on this? Why don't we make our sheriff's deputies the best equipped, best trained police enforcement we have out there that only benefits our deputies and our citizens? The more training, the better. We heard, no, they were already training. You know what? The more training, it's only better for them and better for our citizens. So why are we cheapening out? Nobody seems to have a problem in taking this out of reserves. Then why are we cheapening out and not giving them what they originally wanted? The mental health part was taken out. The training. We need this. Virtual training, that's a thing of the future. We need to do this. Let's be leaders. Let's do it right if we have to do it. And let's give them what they originally wanted. I'm not a law enforcement officer. I'm not an expert. They came to us and asked for this originally because that's what they thought on their initial look. That's what they needed. Let's give them the best. Let's not skimp out on this at over $90,000 a year or less. Let's give them the best they need. Let's get all their deputies with tasers. Let's give them all the training they need. And ultimately, they'll benefit our citizens here in DuPage County.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So there's been further discussion. Member Renahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few things on this. I'd just like to reiterate that this has been a very collaborative effort with the Sheriff's Department to get to this proposal today. This was, we're trying to walk a thin line in terms of what is needed and what is required under the safety legislation. So this has been a collaborative effort, and I'm just concerned because on one hand, I'm hearing, let's keep adding more to this. And then I'm also hearing, where are we going to get the money? So I think there's a very dramatic tension here, and what I'm hearing from some of our members that really smacks to me of politics more than, how do we face this legislation? Right now, we are responding to what the safety legislation requires. This is not an opportunity for the sheriff to relitigate what he put in his budget last year and what he prioritized. He did not put the virtual helmet training in the thing last year. So, I have some concerns here. I think we should go forward as is. I will not be supporting an amendment.
Further discussion, Member Chaplin,
Thank you, Chairman.
followed by Member Ozog.
Thank you, Chairman. And I know there's concerns about the tasers, and I'm confident that we're going to have discussions about the tasers going forward, and maybe we can even put those tasers in the sheriff's budget for 2022. But the tasers weren't required in the House Bill 3653. So I think it is important to reiterate that we didn't just take this out ourselves, that Member Renahan and Sheriff Mendrick worked together on this proposal, and I commended them both for their good work in being responsible and watching out for our taxpayers, but also being responsible in making sure that our sheriff's deputies have what they have to do their job and fulfill the intent of the law.
Okay, further discussion, Member Ozog.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For 8 years on the District 87 High School Board, I was representing our taxpayers, and we were in part of our program in that time frame was a $100 million 10-year program for capital improvements. And one of the part of the work that we did was to negotiate our needs versus our wants. And prior to this meeting, prior to yesterday, it had been agreed that we would take a pause on the virtual reality training. We would also take a pause on extra tasers. So now the story has changed in the last 24 hours. And we're talking about $500,000 over the next 5 years. And we know that there will be further expenses coming from this bill. The bill is here and we have to follow the law. And I believe that at this point we can we can discuss these issues at a different time as we formulate a plan on how we're going to handle all these issues: personnel, public defender, state's attorney, et cetera, capital costs, building needs. And today, I believe that we had already settled this, negotiations, discussions with the sheriff and with Chairman Renahan of the JPS, and I will not be supporting this increase today.
Okay, Member Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As was mentioned by a few members, I feel like there was a lot of discussion and it was healthy discussion in finance. I think responsible leadership is looking at budgetary concerns and taking them in pieces at times. Often in every part of the world, in the corporate world, or whether it's a government agency, departments will come forward with strong, healthy budgets of really what their pie in the sky is. And I think it's our job as leaders to look at things, to question things, to bring things back to the table. I think Member Renahan has done a fantastic job as chair of GPS to make sure she's working closely with the sheriff's office. We are really looking at this in a smart, strategic, financially conservative way. I think one of the things she said in finance was, this is dinner and we're going to look at the next phase as dessert. This is not the end all be all. This is one portion. I know we're all want to get these tasers into the hands of our officers. It's a less lethal method of handling use of force. So I think we're all want to get them the equipment that they need. But this is a good way of good governance, in my opinion. So I will not be supporting.
Okay, thank you, Member Chavez. Member Schwarzy, followed by Member Tornatore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just confirming with JPS Chairman Renahan, Sheriff Mendrick did approve this item, this $545,000. Sheriff Mendrick himself approved it. Okay, and he answers to the sheriff correctly. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Member Tornatore, followed by Member Covert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, I'm disappointed by the fact that we have to invoke the word politics into a discussion that I think everybody has some significant interest in and has a lot to add. You know, I don't know where we said we took a pause. I know I didn't pause anything here. I know I was not part of any settlement discussions. I was not part of any negotiations. And yeah, the sheriff approved it because he didn't have any choice. The sheriff came in and he asked for certain things. And we decided, or at least some members of this board, I'm not on the JPS committee, so I didn't have a vote last Tuesday. Some members of this board decided that apparently they know how to enforce the law better than the sheriff. Now, we're talking about $500,000 over 5 years. And I think that if you want to invoke the term politics, which I hate to do, but I'm going to do it, if you want to invoke that, then it just seems a bit incongruous to me that there are very people who had no problem with this bill and not even bringing it to a vote on this board, which results of a $60+ million hit to our budget over the next 5 years, are concerned about $100,000 a year for what the sheriff believes is proper law enforcement. I mean, let's talk about reality here, not virtual, but reality. If we're going to do this, let's do it right. And quite frankly, let's stop sweating the small you-know-what here. We're talking about $63 or $65 million. If $100,000 a year is what the sheriff needs to do this the right way, and we're stuck with this legislation, then let's do it the right way. So I voted for the cameras at Finance and voted against the appropriation because I'm not happy with how we're getting the money. I think we don't have any choice but to take it from reserves. But if we're going to do it, then let's do it right. So I'm going to be supporting this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Member Tornatore. I believe Member Covert was seeking recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to say that this amendment, this amendment really caught me by surprise right now and wasn't mentioned in Finance. I'd like to stick to the scope of the discussion within the Finance Committee, and I just don't think it's a proper time. So I will be voting against the amendment. While I do fully support law enforcement and our sheriff's department, I just think that this new amendment just really caught me by surprise. So I will not be supporting it.
Okay, anyone else seeking recognition for purposes of discussion on this item? We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Mr. Zay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Member Tornatore. I take offense that it was mentioned that this is political. And people want to say their years. My 22+ years on this board, I have always supported our sheriff and our law enforcement every year. And you can ask them back through Sheriff Zaruba, through this current sheriff. This is giving our guys the best that they can have. And with the current times we have and all the incidents we see, why would we cheap out now? Why would we do that? This originally came up with this requested amount. That's all. So if we're going to do it, and if I need to pare something down in the future, I would rather it be on a head count or something else, not on this. Why would we skimp on this? On the cameras, on the tasers. This is only going to help our guys and our citizens. It's not political. If we have to do it, let's do it right, as I'd said before.
Member Pachowski.
I think everybody agrees that this is something that we're going to look at down the road and is necessary. So we're not arguing about the money. Are we arguing about the timing of this? And my thought is, if it's going to be a few months later, a few months now, I don't know what, sometimes you have to compromise just to compromise. But from what I'm hearing is everybody thinks this is a great idea and we'll deal with it later on. So if we're talking a few $100,000, might as well do it sooner rather than later because we know we're going to do it eventually.
Could have gone either way with that. Member Renahan.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's comments. I think really the question is not what is proper for law enforcement. The question at hand that we are considering and thinking about and working so hard in is what do we have to do to meet the requirements of the safety legislation? Because this falls outside of our normal budgetary situation. So if we're looking at emergency procurement, which we are here, I think it needs to be an emergency. And just because you want to throw in an extra item on the top of something, I mean, it seems like a great idea, but I mean, we're looking at, budgetary tensions. And we know that, we were given a number of $62 million. I mean, we got to figure out how to pare that down. And virtual reality, great. I mean, I definitely think let's bring it back. But not today. Let's do the cameras first.
Okay, Member DeCiani and then Member Ozog again.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to be intelligent on this thought process here. And I know we did bring up the fact that there would be potential law enforcement officers who would not be equipped with tasers. Would this additional appropriation of the amendment, suffice that all law enforcement officers that would need a taser would get them? That would be my question. I don't know if that would be a question for the Deputy Chief Bilodeau, if he's on the call here or not, but that would help me with my vote here.
I don't know if anyone from the Sheriff's Office is within the sound of our voice and they could respond to that. Perhaps Member Zay would know.
Sir, I'm the Sheriff Ed Moore here.
Oh, Eddie Moore.
Hey,
yeah.
Eddie.
How everyone doing? I believe the amendment would allow the virtual reality and those additional Taser 7s to be included, correct?
Okay. So with that, to me, the tasers are important, and they have officers without a taser. Coming from a mayor that executive ordered tasers at Elmhurst, because I thought that they were very important. I will support the amendment just to equip every officer, every law enforcement officer that should have a taser with a taser. I will also support the previous if need be, but I do not see a problem with the extra 100,000, providing we can get that equipment on those men and women that protect us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion, I see Member Ozog, followed by Member Krajewski.
Because I think it needs to be said, I am not going to support this amendment because I don't believe that this is fiscally responsible. It has nothing to do with my support or lack of support for our law enforcement, which has been strong my entire time on this board. But every single item that we're going to be discussing as we implement the requirements of this bill are going to have to be negotiated. And frankly, the number that we've been given, over $60 million, frankly, I believe that there's an awful lot of paring down that can and will be done as we go forward with this. So in a spirit of cooperation, the sheriff and Chairman Renahan had already discussed the fact that the virtual reality can wait. We do have mental health training. We do have crisis intervention training. Those have already been budgeted for. So for today, I will not support this amendment. We had already discussed this previously in JPS as well as in finance today. So we need to be responsible as well as receptive to what the sheriff wants versus what we need to do for this legislation. Thank you.
Okay, Member Krajewski.
Yeah, again, I've been consistent since March 16th when we first discussed this, that I wanted to make sure that these law enforcement officers had the tasers, the election commission details, SWAT, trans detectives, when the people from the courthouse work special events like the Ryder Cup or PGA. None of those officers will have tasers. The road people will. And this a little additional extra money to give all of our officers that are out there the comfort of having a taser versus, and we're going to address it down the road. I mean, even putting it in today, just because we put 630 into our general fund reserves, we haven't spent it yet. We continue the discussion, but I think our officers, should have these tasers. I've been consistent. I mean, people are throwing words out there, but I have been consistent at every JPS meeting. That I like the additional training for our officers for mental health and virtual training, and again, the tasers. So, thank you.
Okay, further discussion, Member Chaplin.
Thank you so much, Chairman. I think if the tasers were a priority for the sheriff, the tasers should have been in the 2021 budget. I think going forward, we need to discuss the additional tasers in our 2022 budget. The sheriff has not had tasers for all this time for all of his deputies. I think being responsible and waiting and making sure that what we're doing today is strictly what is required from House Bill 3653 and not throwing in anything else. And like I said, if the tasers were so important to the sheriff, those should have been in this budget cycle, and we can always talk about them and put them in the 2022 budget for him. But I think right now, today, the matter at hand is getting these cameras, and that's the priority, and that should be the priority.
Okay, we almost closed there. Member DeCiani seeking recognition.
With all due respect, I don't think the sheriff, with the last budget, knew this bill was going to pass. This bill was passed in lame duck after our budget was passed. So these tasers are compatible with the body cameras. They work together. So that I think is, it's, what do you have, ESP in lame duck, they're going to throw a crazy bill out there like this? So I think that's ingenuous. But again, I'm with the spirit of compromise. I just want to make sure that Under Sheriff Moore, how many men and women would not have tasers and body cameras on them if we pass this with the $500,000 appropriation versus if we increase it another 100,000? How many people are we talking?
So the only individuals that actually will have the taser 7s and the body cams will be all the patrol individuals in marked units. The detectives and SWAP and our transport personnel would only have the cameras, but not the taser 7s to match it with self-activation.
Oh, and this is Sheriff Mendrick. I just want to add in, too, to answer Member Chaplin. Yeah, we weren't able to have any new initiatives budgeted for, we were told, by the county board for 2021. So we weren't able to budget for them. Plus, they used to come out of tort liability, but we were told we can't take the money out of tort liability anymore, so we weren't able to get them there. So it was something we could not afford, did not have the budget for. And then when this, House bill got passed without our knowledge, these got thrust upon us. So this is not something I could have planned for or appropriate in advance for when we can no longer take them out of tort liability, nor did we know this House bill would get passed with this $65 million price tag.
So, Under Sheriff Moore, how many people are we talking roughly? You gave me, we talking 50 people, 40 people with the detectives and the transport people and the event folks? How many people are we talking roughly? Just to put a number on it. Are we talking?
Actual employees that would not receive this taser 7 would be about 35 employees off the top of my head, about 35.
So I think I'm willing to come up with the extra 100,000 to protect those 35 individuals, those men and women who need protection, who are going to have a body camera but no taser, and those items work together. They work in tandem. They're made by the same company. So I think it's money well spent. I'll support it, and I appreciate the sheriff jumping on because I think that's important. That we can, the politics, we really have to push that away and look at the people we're protecting and those folks that have the liability on them that protect us. So for 35 people, that's a lot of people to not have the right equipment for. So I'll support the additional. Thank you.
Okay, further discussion. I think Member Chaplin was seeking recognition, and then Member Renahan.
Thank you so much, Chairman. So at the sheriff's office or department, are there 3 shifts of, do they work on 3 shifts? Or do you have 2 shifts?
The sheriff's office we're on 12-hour shifts.
You're on 12 hours.
No overlap.
What was that? I'm sorry.
No overlap within the shifts.
No
And
overlap.
if you're going to suggest passing them back and forth, I think in a pandemic, first, that would be a bad idea. We would not like to infect our officers. And then secondly, there's no overlap in shifts, so it would create overtime for us to have to pass them back and forth. I don't even know evidentiary how that's going to work with more than one person on an account. It's not practical for our operation.
Okay, because I was just checking because I saw if you had 3 shifts, it looks like that the 40 work out perfect, that they could, exchange them in and out of shifts. And what made you get how did you determine the deputies right now that have tasers?
So predominantly all of our officers are eligible to get the taser with the proper training. What we're talking about with this particular issue is the taser 7s because they are enacted or capable of attaching to the actual cameras. Does that answer your question?
Okay, yeah, and then will your do the guns, did you get the device that your guns also can, when you remove them from the holster, they activate the camera as well?
That's part of this package, correct.
So you'll have your guns activating the camera and the taser activating the camera, is that correct?
Correct.
But the camera should be turned on prior. The camera should be on at all times, correct?
The camera should become turned on when you're in contact with the public, but there could be instances where in the heat of the moment you could possibly forget. Okay. But this will alleviate that issue if they turn it on automatically.
Thank you.
Okay, I think Member Renahan was seeking recognition, followed by Member Tornatore.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, what we have in front of us right now without this amendment really is a win-win for the county board and for our sheriff's department, because and it's essentially, instead of buying some cheap $150 cameras that we could have gone through procurement to get, we talked about how to make this work and actually throw in some tasers as part of it to get to a system that is a great quality product. I think something, very large percentage of the, Chicago area police forces use this. I mean, I think, we're really trying to get a win-win here, and I think this is really loading the mule. I mean, this is just disappointing.
Member Tornatore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I applaud Member Renahan for the work that she's done, but again, we seem to be non-law enforcement people determining what the best way to implement the House bill is and how to enforce the law in DuPage County. And we talk about, I've heard the word throw in a couple of times regarding tasers. So in order for me to make a decision which has some basis to it, I'd like to ask the sheriff, as long as he's on, without reinventing the wheel here, why did you ask for the tasers in the first place if apparently, as I understand it, they're not part of the legislation? Did you ask them because you wanted to throw them in because you thought you had, a freebie here? Or is this something that you believe in your position is necessary to enforce not only the letter of the House bill, but the spirit of the bill? If Sheriff Mendrick's still on, I'd like to know, because that'll affect my vote.
Yeah, for us, we've wanted to get as many tasers on board as we could all along. That's why we have some. But we used to get them from tort liability. We can't get those, even AEDs we used to get from tort liability. Can't get that from tort liability anymore either. But this is an option to not use a gun. We're trying to give all of our officers who have direct contact with the public an option other than a gun. We want to give them an alternative to shooting a person. That is simply what this is about. We want an alternative to lethal force, and that's what I'm asking for.
Member Eckhoff, were you seeking recognition?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make my position clear because we're nibbling around the edges here regarding tasers. This is a massive mandate, financial mandate from Springfield. And I just wanted to make it clear in my vote in finance, and I'll do it again here, that I think we need an overall plan and not deal with each expenditure on its own, and in this case, say, go to the general fund. I understand that the general fund is doing pretty well, and one-time purchases sometimes are warranted out of the general fund. But 75% of this at least is going to be year-to-year personnel expenses. And you don't take a mortgage out to pay your utilities. And you need long-term funding solutions, not bonding, not general fund expenditures. And we need to come up with, staff or whoever's going to come up with it needs to come up with it. And that's why I suggested we wait 2 weeks. I didn't think it would be the end of the world to come up with that long-term solution is, because I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression that if I were to vote for this today, that go ahead next month when Bob Berlin comes in and says he needs 14 more people and that's going to cost X number of millions of dollars, then we'll take that out of the general fund. So general fund expenditures sometimes are warranted. I just don't want to give people the wrong idea that that's the way, at least I'm going on this down the road.
Okay, Member Ozog.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to reiterate that by mandate in the new law, we are to have these body cameras by January 1st, 2022. So this part of the mandate is very time sensitive, and we need to order these, we need to get them in the sheriff's office, and they need to be trained to and implemented. So this part of the plan is really time sensitive. However, the rest of it is implemented over a number of years. And we will have a plan, but we're not going to have any different plan in 2 weeks' time. There is a plan, and I know that Member Renahan, Chairman of JPS, as well as Finance Chairman Liz Chaplin, are working on this along with staff, and staff is working very hard on this. So we need to enter this in a spirit of goodwill and compromise. But there is a deadline here, and that is January 1st. So however you feel about the law, we do have to follow it, and we do need these cameras implemented. So I will be against this amendment, but I will be voting in favor of the previous amendment that we passed 14-3 in finance for the body cameras. Thank you.
Okay, is anyone else seeking recognition? I thought oh, forgive me. Member Paula Deacon Garcia, she's right here,
That's okay.
patiently waiting. Thank you very much.
No problem. I just wanted to ask the sheriff if he's still on the line for a little clarification. You were talking about the officers that have tasers, and you said that the amendment that Member Krajewski is doing is trying to get the taser 7s to more people, but did you say that everyone has tasers as of right now?
No, we do not. Everybody does not have tasers right now. That's what this purchase is trying to accomplish.
Okay, so if the amendment is not passed, then they don't all have tasers. Am I hearing that correctly?
You are hearing that correctly.
Okay, second question I have is, when was the first time you came to the county board to ask for the cameras? I mean, I know there was a year you came and they turned you down. What year was it?
I think it was two years ago, 3 maybe. There was a matching grant. I wasn't sheriff at that time, so I don't have all your specific details. But again, we asked for cameras then, and we used to have tort liability to get a lot of these things from that you can no longer use that for. So things like tasers or cameras or AEDs are independent purchases in our budget now.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Sure.
Thank you, Member Deacon Garcia. Mr. Zay seeking recognition.
Yeah, just to respond on that, that was several years ago. The sheriff brought that forward to get a matching grant from the Department of Justice. Before we did it and approved it through, we did our homework and found out how much this was going to cost us. And at that time, we couldn't come up with the $1.2 million that we figured was going to cost us at that point to get a pilot program for body cams. So that's why we did it. It wasn't the cost.
I remember.
And that's why we didn't do that.
I remember. Anyone else seeking recognition? Oh, forgive me.
That's okay.
Member Deacon Garcia.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, I guess why I'm bringing that up, Member Zay, is because, I mean, it seems like there's a discussion that keeps going around that we want the best for our officers, and I totally agree with that. I am totally on board with that. I think Member Renahan is doing a great job. So I think we have to understand that they wanted to come to this a while ago, and they did want to start this program, even if it might be with different cam. But it seems like there was not an urgency at that point in time. I mean, if you want safety for your officers, I think that we need to be the leaders in this. And so I think that I will definitely not be voting for the amendment. I will be voting for what is before us right now. And so we can get the cameras on, so they can try to get the matching or get the $150,000 grant right now. I know there's a deadline on that. And I think that's what we need to be talking about today. And I think we all want the best for our officers. And from forward, we will be trying to get the best of them from now on.
Okay, further discussion, Member Eckhoff?
No, I sort of went over the situation when the sheriff was here in person about why we didn't get the body cams 3 or 4 years ago. And as members, I indicated the grant that the Sheriff Zaruba applied for was only going to pay for a drop in the bucket. And body cams, as State's Attorney Berlin and many people in law enforcement have indicated, are usually acquired back then because there's a certain distrust between the community and the police department. But in DuPage County, I feel, and I still feel today, and I think our sheriff feels this way and our state's attorney feels this way, is that we have a good relationship, the public, between law enforcement. And I use the example when the Bloomingdale police officer was killed on his way to a 911 call, that his funeral procession went around the county. And teachers came out, brought their students out, they lined the streets to say farewell to him because we have a good relationship with police officers, and we love our police officers and our sheriff's deputies. And so the need for a body cam, maybe in Chicago where there isn't that trust, is not needed here in DuPage County. And I asked the sheriff when he was here, how many allegations or complaints have you had about unlawful use of force since you've been sheriff? And even though we had the riots or the disturbances in Naperville and Oak Brook, the answer is 0. We've got a good relationship between the public and the police. So the need for body cams isn't the same as where they are everywhere else. This one size fits all that comes out of Springfield is ridiculous. But we're stuck with it because it's the law. So we're going to comply with the law, but it's a whole different situation than what they're going through down in Chicago.
Okay, further discussion. Member Ozog.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the sheriff is still on board, can you tell me what percentage of our municipalities have body cameras in DuPage County?
Yeah, I couldn't even guess. There's 36 municipalities within DuPage County. I know many of them carry tasers. I don't know how many of them.
How about body cameras?
That's nothing I have surveyed across county on how many have them and how many don't. I'm not sure.
But I'm sure some of them do have body cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And, to Member Eckhoff's discussion about how our community feels about our police, that's actually not really quantifiable. And let's also remember that, first of all, the body cameras are the law as of the passage of this bill. And also, body cameras also protect our law enforcement personnel. So it goes both ways. And it's really not an emotional issue of we don't need them because nothing happens here. It's the law, and we need to follow it, and we need to follow it in a really timely fashion. And we previously had this discussion in finance, and I think we need to call a vote on this.
Now that you've spoken, Member Tornatore.
Thank you once again, Mr. Chairman. Just when I think I'm out, you guys pull me back in. You know what? No one's voting here. If we're voting for this amendment, voting against body cameras. Okay, so the cameras are what the cameras are. This is about the increase to try to get the sheriff what he asked for, who was very, very clear in his response that every officer who has a taser is less likely to pull a gun. That's the spirit and the intent of the legislation which was brought forth by the legislature. To try to nitpick this for what, I'm not going to dispute that $100,000 a year is not a lot of money, but it's a relatively small sum when you look at the whole thing. Regarding what we did 2 years ago, and I think there's an underlying accusation here that somehow a board 2 years ago or 3 years ago didn't care about the police department as much as we profess to be now. And if that is, let me put everybody's on notice that we've always cared about the sheriff and the police department. The reason that we didn't go for body cameras 2 years ago, one, it wasn't the law. Two, it wasn't in our budget. Now we have to do it. And yes, there are police departments that have body cameras. The police department that I represent, Bloomingdale, does have body cameras. They brought that forth before the law was enacted. It's something that's important. It protects police departments, and it protects the citizens of this county against unsubstantiated accusations. So we're voting for cameras. Nobody's here saying that we're not going to give cameras to our officers. The question before us is whether or not we want to go that, not even the extra mile, the extra quarter of a mile, to give the sheriff what he believes is going to reduce the use of force on behalf of citizens, which is the quintessential reason that this legislation was passed. And to suggest that $100,000 a year or $500,000 over 5 years, when we're looking at an over $60 million potential expenditure, is not something that we should do because we're caught off guard or somehow it's political. It just flies in the face of everything that we're supposed to be doing. If we want this, if we want this legislation and we have to deal with it, then let's deal with it the right way. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Anyone else seeking recognition for purpose of discussion? Member Schwarzy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One more question. I think I asked it earlier to JPS Chairman Ranahan. Did the Sheriff's Department agree to this $545,000 with you? Sheriff's Department came to that conclusion with you. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
Hi, this is Sheriff Mendrick. Yeah, we did agree. Absolutely. We will take whatever appropriation that we can get to make this happen. whether it's our full request or a partial request. We just do not want to bypass a date, which is January 1st, and not be in compliance with the law. So any way we can get there, we're at your mercy as the people controlling the budget. We made a request, we're asked to pare it down, and we will accept that. So yes, we did agree.
So we made the request for tasers, and then, okay. Is that what he's saying? Okay. Thank you, Sheriff, for a clarification there. Anyone else seeking recognition on this issue for purposes of discussion? I think we've had a very robust discussion. There's been a motion to adopt this amendment, which will increase the appropriation to cover this additional item of tasers. It was moved by Member Zay, seconded by Member Krajewski. Member Krajewski. So, Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Krajewski. Krajewski.
He's talking. He doesn't have his mic.
Put it off.
How are you voting, Member Krajewski?
You know what? I just got booted off. I came back on, so I'm not even sure what's the vote we're voting on.
That's why you got to pay attention.
No, I got booted off of the internet. I just got back on. I called Nick. They sent me another link, and I just got back on. So I am paying attention. I wasn't on.
I'm sorry. So how do you vote, sir?
I don't know what I'm voting on. I just got back into the discussion.
Your amendment.
My amendment. I vote aye.
Okay.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
No.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge. Schwarzy.
No.
Selman.
No.
Tornatori. Aye. Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
No.
Chavez.
No.
Covert.
No.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Garcia.
No.
Hart.
Aye.
Nine voting aye, 8 voting no.
So there are 9 voting aye, 8 voting nay. The resolution, the amendment is adopted to the resolution. No,
It doesn't?
not just for the amendment requires a simple majority, but for the approval of this resolution as amended now requires 2/3. Okay, so is there any discussion, anything further? Would anyone like to offer? Any pearls of wisdom at this point? Member DeCiani.
I think in the spirit of compromise and hearing what the sheriff had to say, I think we've got a win-win, and I'm hoping everybody will support this. Thank you.
Member Rutledge.
Thank you, Chairman. I was kind of on the fence on this, but the comment from the sheriff that said that this would allow him to use less lethal force in a situation is what swung my vote to the yes. So thank you.
Understood. Okay, so is there a motion to pass this resolution as amended? There's been a motion by Member DeCiani. Is there a second? Seconded by Member Zay. Member Selman seeking recognition. Forgive me.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just some quick clarification. So with the increase, and I wish we had done this in finance so we could have a good discussion on the impact of the budget, that increase now in about $100,000, where is that coming from? A different part of the reserves, or is our chief financial officer still feel okay with pulling that out of the reserves for this kind of expenditure? I just want to make sure we're still having that conversation about taking money out of reserves now that the amount is higher.
The officer is here and he's ready to offer a response. Please proceed, sir.
Yes, I am still comfortable with that dollar amount. Again, one-time capital, with the level of reserves that we have, that will not put us in a bad financial position going forward.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that question, Member Selman. So there's been a motion and a second, and the clerk, Member Chavez, please.
Sorry, I just want to say that I was initially against this, but I do want our officers to have these options available. However, I think going forward, we do have these committees for a reason, so that these issues can get hashed out and we can bring it to the table a little bit cleaner for the board and into finance. So that would just be my request going forward.
Good thought. Member LaPlante.
Thank you so much, Chairman. I would also like to echo those same concerns. I wish that this had been discussed and hashed out in committee. And also, I am voting yes because I want to do anything possible to make sure that we do not use lethal force. And anything we can do to help make, to stop that from happening. And that is the reason behind my vote. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. So we have a motion and a second on the resolution as amended. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Just for clarification, is that a separate motion that I should be calling, like a separate motion that DeCiani made after the fact, or does Chaplin's original motion stand for the resolution as a whole? Right, so does it return to Chaplin's original motion? Okay. Chaplin.
Wait.
Yeah, why don't you explain? So what's the question?
Right, Chaplin made a motion, and then there was a second motion made by DeCiani.
For the 600.
No, we already adopted the amendment. This is the resolution as amended.
To the 630,000.
Correct.
Okay. Chaplin.
No.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
No.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy. Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori. And Zay.
12-3, 14-3, forgive me. 14 voting aye, 3 voting nay. The resolution as amended is adopted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I move approval of FIR 023621, resolution placing names on payroll.
Second, Garcia.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
And Zay.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I move approval of FIR 023521, budget transfers 413-2021, various companies and accounting units.
Second most favorable roll.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I move approval of FIR 023921, abatement of the special service area number 31, 2020 tax levy in the amount of $1,563,800.
Leave.
There's a motion and a second.
Second.
We
We
got to
need a
do
second.
motion
Second.
second
Second
on
most
request for
favorable roll.
leave.
Leave.
Leave is granted. Always got to have that motion and a second. Please proceed, Member Chaplin.
Oh, I believe that concludes my
Is
report.
that the it? What a fine report it was indeed. On to the order of development. Member Sam Tornatori.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move approval of DCO 26-21, Ordinance C 2095, Darien Woodward's Fire Protection Districts. Request for conditional use for a private museum. This is a zoning hearing officer's recommendation, unanimously approved by the Development Committee.
Second, Schwarzy.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin. Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart. Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante,
Aye.
Ozog,
Aye.
Pachowski, Renahan, Rutledge,
Aye.
Schwarzy,
Aye.
and Selman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted. Member Tornatori? That
That concludes my report,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman.
that's your only item. Thank you. On to the order of environmental, Member Sheila Rutledge.
Thank you, Chairman. I did make comment this morning at Finance about the couple of resolutions that are coming up for intergovernmental extensions of agreements for turf mowing in our county. And these contracts will be up later in the year, and I just want to let everybody know I'm going to be a hard push to find alternatives to that. I think we need to start educating our citizenry about the downside to expanses of turf. And again, thank you to Stormwater for acquiring grants to give us a test area out on the County Farm Road. So that will be coming up. And the only item I have is I'll ask for a motion on ENR 0215-21. This is a resolution to promote sustainable outdoor lighting practices within county operations.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Rutledge,
Aye.
Schwarzy, Selman,
Aye.
Tornatori,
Aye.
Zay,
Aye.
Chaplin,
Aye.
Chavez,
Aye.
Covert,
Aye.
Desart, DeCiani, Eckhoff, Garcia,
Aye.
Hart, Krajewski,
Aye.
LaPlante,
Aye.
Ozog,
Aye.
Pachowski, and Renahan.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Member Rutledge. On to the order of Health and Human Services, Member Renahan.
Thank you, Chairman. I move approval of JPSP 6721, contract to Medline Industries for Sheriff's Office for vinyl examination gloves for the jail, May 1st, 2021 through April 30th, 2022, not to exceed $60,000.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renahan, Rutledge, Schwarzy,
Aye.
Selman,
Aye.
Tornatori,
Aye.
Zay, Chaplin,
Aye.
Chavez,
Aye.
Covert,
Aye.
Desart, DeCiani, Eckhoff, Garcia,
Aye.
Hart, Krajewski,
Aye.
LaPlante,
Aye.
Ozog,
Aye.
and Pachowski.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Renahan.
I move approval of JPSP 6821, contract to Trinity Services Group to provide inmate and officer meals at the jail, May 1st, 2021 to April 30th, 2022, not to exceed $182.50.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renahan,
Aye.
Rutledge, Schwarzy,
Aye.
Selman,
Aye.
Tornatori,
Aye.
Zay,
Aye.
Chaplin, Chavez,
Aye.
Covert,
Aye.
Desart, DeCiani, Eckhoff, Garcia,
Aye.
Hart, Krajewski,
Aye.
LaPlante,
Aye.
Ozog,
Aye.
and Pachowski.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Renahan.
I move approval of JPSP 6921, approval contract with Peter M. King of King Holloway LLC for professional services as a conflict attorney for juvenile cases May 1st, 2021 through April 30th, 2022 for the circuit court, not to exceed $42,000.
Second most favorable role.
Leave is granted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move approval of JPSP 7121, recommendation for approval of contract purchase order for Axon Enterprise to provide the Sheriff's Office with body cameras and TASER 7 devices for all sworn law enforcement for a 5-year contract total, which we have an amendment. I'm not sure what.
What's the amended amount?
$2,515,464.
What was
There he is, Johnny on the spot with the numbers. Very good. Thank
Was
you.
it
So
not
this
to
includes,
exceed?
Say it again?
yes,
$2,515,464.
he's an accountant, did you know that?
Yes, that amount. As sole source provider.
Okay, so we have to, with leave of the body, we're going to have to amend that number on its face because this is what appears on our agenda. So, hearing no objection, seeing no objection, the revised amount that Mr. Krajewski just articulated for the record is the amount that will be included in JPSP 0071-21. Is there any objection? Seeing none, hearing none, that leave the body that would then be the articulated under the category of maybe a scrivener's error. But in any event, just want to clarify that for the record. So there's been a motion and a second on this item. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renahan.
Aye.
Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatore. Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin. Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Hart. Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
And Pachowski.
Okay. Moving right along to
Mr.
the
Chairman,
next.
if I may?
Forgive me, I'm sorry. Member Tornatore.
I didn't want to disrupt Member Renahan's rhythm there, but I don't know, did we do item 12B under HHS?
12B.
We
did A and B? I must have missed B.
I don't know. I was kind of getting, just on this last vote, I was losing where we were on the agenda too, so yeah.
Okay. I didn't want to interrupt you while you were doing
All right,
it.
yes. Thank you for catching that, Member Tornatore. With leave of the body, we're going to go back to the order of Health and Human Services, Member Renahan, to item B, change order item. Please proceed, Member Renahan.
Was it B on JPS?
No, it's HHS.
No.
HHS. 12B.
Okay.
I don't think I saw when we went from HHS to JPS. I think that was it went right into it, I think was what happened, because we started reading the JPS ones.
Yeah, that's what I think we missed. Sure.
All right, I move approval of 2021-290 HHSP 321A-20, amendment to resolution HHSP 321-20 to Point Click Care Technologies for electronic health record software system integration for the DuPage Care Center, November 25th, 2020 through November 24th, 2025, to add on monthly subscription for practitioner lab and radiology integration and decrease encumbrance amount of $82,506.05, resulting in amended contract total not to exceed $1,368,258.35.
Second most favorable roll.
Well, we better not. So there's been a motion and a second by Member Rutledge. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatore.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart. Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
And Pachowski. Mr. Chairman, I was also advised that perhaps we skipped A on the HHS, that we just went right into
No.
the G.
Oh, we did it.
Yeah, no.
We did it.
Yes. So I think my records indicate
So
that
we did A.
addressed that. So if you don't have a roll call for that, though, that's kind of a problem. You're the clerk. So you want to go back to that item with leave of the body? That's okay. We can do it. Forgive me. So yeah, and so let's just, with leave of the body, let's go back to judicial public safety.
HHS.
HHS. I'm pretty sure we did that. I have it chalked off here, but.
We did 13A.
All right, but he doesn't have a roll call. So let's go
12
back to
12A.
12A.
Did we do 12A?
12A. Forgive me. I apologize. I take responsibility here.
I see.
apologize.
Okay.
So let's go back to 12. With leave of the body, we've done B. We're going to go back to A just to be extra careful. I think we've already addressed this. Either it's in the record or it isn't, but let's just make sure. So with leave of the body, Member Renahan, please proceed with item 12A, HHS 0077-21.
All right, I move approval, HHSP 7721, recommendation for approval of contract with prescription supply for secondary pharmaceuticals in-house closed shop pharmacy for the period May 21st, 2021 through May 20th, 2022 for not to exceed $170,000.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatore.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart, DeCiani, Eckhoff, Garcia,
Aye.
Hart, Krajewski,
Aye.
LaPlante,
Aye.
Ozog,
Aye.
and Pachowski.
Okay, thank you. The resolution is adopted. My records indicate that we have covered both the HHS order of business and we've covered JPS as well, with Member Renahan is chairing both of those committees. We've prosecuted both of those agendas. Okay. We could do it again if you like it. So let's move on to the next order of business entitled Public Transit. Member Mary Ozark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank Member Renahan for her work with the Willowbrook Corners community. This is an underserved area for transit opportunities. And then I would like to move to approve PTP 007021, a contract to WSP USA Incorporated for professional engineering services to establish a Willowbrook Corners Transit Service Framework Plan, Section 20 WCTSP 00EG, for a contract total not to exceed $49,957.43. Professional services vetted through a qualification-based selection process in compliance with Illinois Local Government Professional Services Selection Act.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Member Renahan seeking recognition. Oh, forgive me. Okay. So there's been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatore.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin. Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart. Krajewski.
Aye.
And LaPlante.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The resolution is adopted. We move on to the order of Public Works. Member Ozog.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to thank everyone at the County and Health Department who arranged the tour of the vaccination site for Congressman Caston and county elected officials on April 7th. This past year, the fairgrounds as both a testing and vaccination center has proved to be an invaluable resource for our local fight against COVID-19. And I especially want to thank Fairground Association Executive Director Jim McGuire for working with so many others to make all of this work for the people of DuPage County. I'd now like to move on to the business of public works, starting with number A. I'd like to move to approve FMP 007221, recommendation for the, or excuse me, I need to start again. I'd like to move to combine and approve items A, B, and C on the public works agenda.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to combine items A, B, and C. Since we have a majority of members present here, we can entertain a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The items are combined. Please proceed.
Okay, I'd like to move to approve items A, B, and C.
Okay, you need to give a brief
I'm
explanation
sorry.
of them, please.
We'll start with item A, FMP 007221, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Metropolitan Industries to provide pump repairs, replacement pump parts, and replacement Metropolitan pumps as needed for the county campus for facilities management for the period April 2021 through April 2023 for a total contract amount not to exceed $60,000. This is a competitive bid, but this is not suitable for competitive bids. Sole provider of items compatible with existing equipment. Item B, FMP 007321, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Thompson Electronics Company for preventative maintenance, testing, and repair of the Edwards System Technology fire panels for the county campus for facilities management for the 2-year period April 2021 through April 13th, 2023 for a contract total amount not to exceed $121,500 per lowest responsible bid. Item C, FMP 007421, recommendation for the approval of a contract to A&P Grease Trappers Incorporated for sanitary grease trap and storm basin pumping, jetting, and cleaning as needed for the county campus for facilities management for the period April 2021 through April 2022 for a total contract amount not to exceed $124,060 with allocations to Animal Services, Division of Transportation and Facilities Management per lowest responsible bid.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. There's been a motion and a second on these three items. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan.
Aye.
Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart. Krajewski.
Aye.
And LaPlante.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Ozog?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move for approval of item D, FMP 007621, recommendation for the approval of contract to ComEd for electric utility distribution services for the connected county facilities for facilities management for the period April 14th, 2021 through April 30th, 2024, for a total contract amount not to exceed $3 million per 55 ILCS competitive bids, not suitable for competitive bids, public utility. And this will be allocated to facilities management, animal services, care center, division of transportation, and the health department.
Second,
A
Garcia.
motion and a second request for leave. Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Ozog. On to the order of stormwater. Member Jim Zay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I move to combine items A and B. These are both Winfield Creek water quality study.
And a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The items are combined. Please proceed,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Chair. I
Zay.
move on SMR 21621, approval of the Winfield Creek Water Quality Watershed Base Plan, and SMR 21721, approval of Phase 2 addendum to Winfield Creek Watershed Study
Second.
Plan.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin. Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart. Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
And Tornatori.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Zay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to combine items C, D, E, F, and G. These are all acceptance of easements.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The items C through G are combined. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move on SMR 21821, recommendation of a temporary easement issued to Smith for $1. SMR 21921, acceptance of a permanent easement to Smith for $1. SMR 22021, recommendation of temporary easement to Florio $1. SMR 22121, recommendation of acceptance of a permanent drainage easement for $1 Florio, and recommendation of a temporary, SMR 22221, recommendation of temporary construction easement to Roick for $1.
Leave is granted. Mr. Zay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move on SMR 22321, additional appropriation, environmental public works projects fund.
Leave is granted. Mr. Zay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move on SMP 6621, approval of contract issued to Integral Construction for labor for the sluice
Second,
gate
we'll
project
say
at
roll.
Elmhurst Quarry, $692,643.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Mr. Zay.
Thank you,
Fine
Mr. Chairman.
report. On to the order of transportation. Member Pachowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. I'd move to approve DTR 22921, an agreement between the County of DuPage and Progressive Rail Incorporated for railroad crossing improvements at York Road for an estimated cost of $30,393.50.
Motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Pachowski.
Aye.
Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Oh, yeah.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart. Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante.
Aye.
And Ozog.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Pachowski.
Thank you. Move to approve DTR 23021, an amended and restated lease agreement for real property between the County of DuPage and City of
Second
Warrenville.
most favorable roll.
Leave is granted. Member Pachowski.
I'd like to combine, Mr. Chairman, C, D, E, and F, which are all amendments to resolutions.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
nay. The ayes have it. The items are combined.
Thank you.
Please
Move to approve
proceed, Member
DTR
Pachowski.
189A21, an amendment to a resolution issued to Builders Paving LLC for improvements along Crest Road with no change in county cost. Move to approve DTR 284A19, amendment to a resolution for the re-execution of a local public agency agreement between the County of DuPage and Illinois Department of Transportation with no change in county cost. Move to approve DTR 19A19, amendment to a resolution for an intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage and Winfield Road District for mowing along county roads. with a amended county cost of $77,490, and move to approve amendment to DTR 921A18, amendment for an intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage and Village of Kettle Stream for mowing along county roads and right-of-ways to increase the funding to $74,020.
Okay, thank you. Very good explanation. Been a motion and a second, a request for leave. Leave is granted. Member Pachowski.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to combine agenda items G to R, which are all approval of contracts.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to combine items G through R. All those in favor say aye.
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 Nay. The ayes have it. The items are combined. G through R. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve DTP 7521, a contract to Vulcan Construction Materials LLC to furnish and deliver coarse and fine aggregates as needed, not to exceed $100,000. Move to approve DTP 7821, a contract to Compass Minerals America Inc. to furnish and deliver bulk rock salt as needed for a contract not to exceed $1,622,600. Motion to approve DTP 7921, a contract to Duquesne Asphalt Company to furnish and deliver bituminous paving materials for the central region as needed, not to exceed $100,000. Move to approve DTP 8021, a contract to K5 Construction to furnish and deliver bituminous paving materials for the southeast region as needed, not to exceed $100,000. Move to approve DTP 8121, a contract to Pody Construction to furnish and deliver bituminous paving materials for the western region as needed, not to exceed $50,000. Move to approve DTP 8221, a contract to Wilco Inc. to furnish and deliver automotive lubricants as needed for a contract not to exceed $30,000. Move to approve DTP 8321, a contract to Christopher E. Burke Engineering to provide professional preliminary Phase 1 engineering services for the flashing yellow arrow corridor project for a contract not to exceed $153,163.73. Move to approve DTP 8421, a contract to DLZ Illinois Inc. to provide professional design Phase 2 engineering service for the central signal system for a contract not to exceed $536,101.31. Move to approve DTP 8121, a contract to ESI Consultants Limited for professional consulting engineering service for the 2021 Maintenance South program for a contract not to exceed $436,195.24. Move to approve DTP 8621, a contract to Hampton, Lanzini, and Renwick, Inc. for professional construction services, engineering services along Crest Road, not to exceed $308,598.98. Move to approve DTP 8721, a contract to Stanley Consultants to provide professional consulting engineering services upon request of the Department of Transportation, not to exceed $400,000. And move to approve DTP 8821, a contract to Ozinga Ready Mix, Inc. to furnish and deliver Portland concrete cement, not to exceed $90,000.
There's been a motion and a second request for leave. Leave is granted. Mr. Pachowski.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would move to combine agenda items S, T, and U, which are all amendments to resolutions.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The items are combined. Please proceed, sir.
Thank you. Move to approve DTP 22821, amendment to a resolution issued to Aselli Inc. for a 2-year subscription service agreement for software integration between the online permitting software and the Bluebeam plan review software for the Division of Transportation with no change in county cost. Move to approve DTP 233-820, amendment to a resolution issued to Knight EA Engineering for improvements along Fabian Parkway for a correction of a scrivener's error. And finally, move to approve DTR 15821, amendment to a resolution for a local public agency agreement between the County of DuPage and Illinois Department of Transportation for improvements along Grand Avenue with no change in county cost.
Leave.
There's been a request for leave, and leave is granted on these 3 remaining items. Very nice report, Mr. Pachowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That concludes our committee reports. We move on to the next order of business entitled Old Business. Old Business. Anyone seeking recognition on the order of old business? Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to mention, as you know, Member Dessart is not here today, and she takes her attendance very seriously.
Dessart, yes, please.
And, she is in the hospital, so I just wanted to let everybody know that's why she's not here. I talked to her and she said I could mention
Doing
that.
okay?
So that
Everything all right? Yeah?
I think she's doing better. So,
Okay.
And I also wanted to remind the board members that we will be having meetings coming up with the COVID, with the American First Act. We will be getting $0.9 million. We should be receiving that sometime in May. And, this is a really great opportunity for DuPage County to make some capital and community investments, which will bring direct relief to families suffering financial and emotional hardships brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think it's really going to change the way we do business, the county does business going forward. So I think it's going to be really positive. So just please keep in mind, start thinking of ideas and ways that you want to use that money, and submit those over to Nick Kottmeyer and Cheryl Marquet. And also going forward, the county board members will be receiving via their email the county's monthly sales tax revenue. We thought since, it's like 51% of our budget, that would be good information for all the board members to have. So that's all. Thank you.
Anyone else seeking recognition on the order of old business? Old business, Mr. DeCiani.
Yep. I want to thank everybody for coming together on the vote on law enforcement. I think that was very, it showed bipartisanship, it showed leadership. It was good Q&A, and I can just relate a little topic. I executive ordered tasers on police officers in Elmhurst in 2010. Within 1 week, we had a save, or we had a domestic and a detective, because when you have a situation, all hands on deck, a detective responded along with several other police officers, and it was domestic with a knife to a woman's neck. And hadn't we had tasers, he would have probably been dead, because they would have had no other choice to shoot him. The detective deployed his taser, and the woman was safe, and the man was safe. Naturally arrested for domestic abuse, but at the end of the day, you never know what's going to happen. And when we've got 35 more people protected, men and women, that protect us and protect this county, I think we stepped up and did the right thing today. So, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the order of old business? Old business, Member Renahan.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank everybody. We had some healthy discussion here. I have to say I'm disappointed, because really our objective here was to look at an implementation cost of safety legislation. It does not require tasers. And so what we did today was essentially allow the sheriff to get some kind of goodies, and it's going to cost us in the end. And I think tasers are important, cameras are important. I don't doubt that for a minute, and the virtual training is great too. But when we're trying to walk a fine line, and we have a duty to fiscal responsibility for taxpayers, I'm quite disappointed.
Yes.
Okay.
I would echo those statements. I've been on many boards and commissions as well, and I think you all know my record on taxpayer dollars and saving people money and doing my due diligence. Right. And I'm very disappointed with how this vote went as well.
You're disappointed the deputy sheriffs got tasers?
No, I think that we should have done the tasers with the 2022 budget. They're not going to get the cameras until...
What if they need a taser next week?
They're not going to get the cameras until, that doesn't go into effect until January. And I think we would have had time to put those in the 2022 budget.
Okay.
I hope, I'm glad, I think we all wanted tasers for the sheriffs. I think it was a matter of how we were going to budget for them and how we wanted to do it. So, again, I'm disappointed it came last minute. This was, we got the letter late yesterday afternoon. That's not a way to do this. That just was not, the whole thing was not
Well,
done.
thank you, Member Chaplin.
Thank you.
Further discussion on the order of old business, Mr. Zay?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was nice to see, it's hard to believe, but this is the first time we've had a quorum since the last meeting in March in 2020 here on the board floor. So as our employees continue to get vaccinated and continue to start coming back slowly to the building, I'm hoping that we're going to start seeing more board members. We've all taken advantage of the Zoom, but we have some members that are out in tours at the courthouse or at the fairgrounds or wherever. I think it's time that we should be leaders and start coming back to the county board at this point. Again, we've asked, many of us have been here during the time, many of us have taken advantage of Zoom. Some board members haven't been here in over a year. So I think it's time, as things, hopefully over the next month, we have 10 today, maybe we'll have 11 in 2 weeks, maybe we'll have 12. Hopefully at some point here before summer starts, so we can get this board back to full attendance here in person.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zay. On cue, Member Ozog.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In response to Mr. Zay, I will be coming back in the near future. I've gotten my vaccinations, but I'd also like to reiterate that this virus is still circulating, and I hope that when I do return, that the members in the boardroom and to protect both themselves and the community will continue to wear their masks in the boardroom. I think that's important. The rates are still climbing in DuPage County. We all need to wear masks anytime we're indoors. Secondly, I'd like to express my disappointment as well with how this went this morning with the amendment to add money to our original cost from the reserves. To me, this, first of all, we received a letter from the sheriff late yesterday afternoon. And what it does to me is shows disrespect for our committee system. First of all, we could have had this discussion during finance, during our discussion earlier today. But actually, it's disrespectful to the fact that the sheriff and Chairman Renahan had come to an agreement that we would be able to not necessarily not get these items right now, but that we would postpone, that we would discuss as we continue to parse out how we're going to be spending this money. So in terms of our committee, the way our committees are supposed to work, that's where our daily work gets done, our in-depth work gets done. And today, this was actually kind of commandeered from how our committees should work and previous work that Chairman Renahan had done. So while we're all in favor, obviously, of supporting our law enforcement, I think we need to consider that we are a board that is supposed to work through a committee system and respect our committee system. Thank you.
Further discussion on the order of old business, Mr. Tornatore.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I think if anybody should be disappointed with what happened on that vote, it would be Chairman Renahan, who worked so hard with the sheriff. However, I think that it worked exactly like the committee system is supposed to work. We flushed some things out of the committee system. Should we have, or could we have done more at finance this morning? Absolutely, but we'd probably still be in finance right now if we would have done it. But I think that JPS did what they were supposed to do, and committees make recommendations to this county board. And whether we get an amendment on the floor or a letter the night before or 7 o'clock in the morning doesn't matter. It's our duty as county board members to take the information we have and take a vote. No committee tells us as a county board what we have to do, no matter how many meetings they've had. And we've certainly bypassed and counteracted what committees have suggested to us on numerous occasions. So what we did today wasn't a commandeering of anything. It wasn't a slap in anyone's face, figuratively or otherwise. It was an attempt on this board to take a look at all of the information and make a decision, and at the same time give credence and congratulations to the hard work that went into what Chairman Renahan brought forth. But that doesn't mean that we can't have a debate and make decisions as a county board. That's why we were elected to do what we do. Thank you.
Further discussion, Mr. Zay?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, there's a little voice in the back of my head that's saying don't say this, but you know, I'm really tired of being preached to by Member Ozog. We all wear in this, everybody in this room wears masks, and for someone to sit at home who hasn't been here in a year to tell me that we should wear masks all the time is kind of hypocrisy. I pull my mask down to talk, as the governor does in press conferences, as everybody else does in press conferences, the mayor of the city of Chicago. We all, some of us pull our masks down to talk, some don't. If Member Renahan and Member DeCiani had a problem with that and they told me, please keep your mask up, I would pull it up immediately. But for the few minutes I speak during a 5-hour period and I pull my mask down, I think it's kind of ridiculous. I'm tired of being preached to for someone who hasn't been here in a year.
Okay. Member Ozog.
Under the governor's orders, any of us can continue to either Zoom or show up at the meetings, and it's really rather pretentious on your part to tell people that they need to come in, not knowing what their various situations may be. So if you're going to be in the committee room or in the boardroom, wear a mask. It's not that hard. Thank you.
Okay. Any further, more productive conversation on the order of old business? Member Selman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As was remarked in your chairman's remarks earlier today, Giving DuPage Days is April 26th through April 30th. And I want to just draw all of your attention to your inbox, as our chairman gave many well-deserved compliments to Shefali for how on top of everything she is. Already in your inbox, you have an email that she sent to you at 9:40 that has some details on Giving DuPage Days, as well as some ways you can share. I know we've all been sharing on our own social medias COVID updates or a whole bunch of things that really aren't as exciting and sunshiny, but this is a really nice way to remind everyone that there's a lot of good things happening in DuPage County too, not just the progress we're making on vaccines and on COVID, but there's a lot of ways we've all helped each other this year, and this is a really nice way to thank them. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact myself or Member Hart, and you'll be hearing from both of us over the next few weeks. So thank you, everyone, for your attention to this. It's a really great cause.
Thank you very much, Member Selman. That's awesome. Thank you. Anyone else seeking recognition on the order of old business? Seeing none, hearing none, I move to the next order of business entitled New Business. New Business. Member Covert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for wishing the Muslim community a happy Ramadan. It starts today, so I want to wish all those who celebrate happy Ramadan. And also, I was very pleased to see the Sikh community here today receive their proclamation for Sikh Awareness Month. Nice to see the diversity in our county. I also want to mention that April, just like you said, Mr. Chairman, April is a very busy month. And in addition, April is also National Arab American Heritage Month as well. So that is also another event here. And third, I'd like to mention kind of off topic from the, kind of on topic of the diversity. Member Chavez and I are chairing the Ad Hoc Diversity and Inclusion Committee. And we have started very productive discussions and conversations about it. When Member Chaplin mentioned, that we do need an increase in revenue, I completely agree. Today, we will continue to probably get more unfunded mandates from Springfield, and we're going to have to accommodate that. DuPage County Board is not, we don't have home rule. So the only option for us, I believe, is increasing our revenue here at the county. And I really hope to achieve that, achieve increasing revenue through our diversity, our ad hoc committee, diversity and inclusion, and bringing in more diverse businesses and seeing if we can bring in more revenue through that route. So that would be my goal and my vision. And, instead of making slashes or cuts to the budget, I fully support increasing in revenue. And that's probably what we're going to have to do moving forward, and thinking of creative ways on how to bring in more money to benefit our county. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Member Covert, for your leadership on the all-important issue of diversity and inclusion here at the county. And so I eagerly await the opportunity to work with you on that issue and see it through and make sure it progresses. Further, anyone else seeking recognition on the order of new business? New business. Seeing none, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting to Tuesday, April 27th, 2021 at 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.